Good morning, Linux lovers. My name's Wimpy. Welcome to my world. If you're watching this on YouTube, this was recorded live on twitch.tv/Wimpy's World on the 27th of August. And today I'm going to be doing a workstation tour of the system I have here. I'm trying something new, so it's almost certainly going to go wrong, so we'll have fun with picking the bones out of that. And I'm also told the power could go off at any moment, so chances of failure are high today. But with that, let's just get a couple of messages sent out to invite some friends over. So I've got my now traditional 2 cups of tea here with me, so I hope you've brought a beverage as well. Right, okay, I think we're nearly done with the message sending. Here we go, boink. Right, okay, so I've been doing these morning streams. I think I've done 4 this week. I'll need to get those up to YouTube as archival copies soon. Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Yannick. How are you? Yes, I'm enjoying this 2 mugs of tea in the morning. This is the way to start the day. I hear from my new friend round the corner, Daryl, that he's bought more boxes of tea bags this morning. So, right. So, I thought as a little bit of Friday fun, I sort of had a question for people yesterday, which was what should we talk about this morning, and the overwhelming response was do a workstation tour. So that's what we're going to do. I'm in a new office space. Well, the office space isn't new, but my renting of this space is new. And so using some pieces of equipment that I had and some new bits, I built a workstation as close to my main workstation at home, but that is much smaller. So what we're going to do is go through that, quick look at how I've got things set up here. I'm just wondering if maybe having that light on was a bad idea, but we'll get to that. We'll figure that out soon enough. And then I'll bring up some bits from the OS in terminals and Windows and what have you, and we'll sort of go through it. I haven't prepared the browsers, so that's also another mistake I've made. But we'll pick up a window now, and we'll just separate that out so we've got that ready. Let's just go down here and bring this browser window down, so we've got something for when we need to go off and look at what were the bits is in this computer, because there's only so much we can see from the outside. So there's that. Good morning, Nick DM. How are you? And welcome back, Paul. Hey. Henrik, good morning. So, I'm new to this streaming thing. That's why you make newbie mistakes. It's true. Yeah, I improve every day. And in fact, for those of you that were in the live stream on Slim DevOps last night, thanks very much for stopping by. I know you all had a good wheeze at being able to hear Peter whilst we got the holding screen up. Peter and I are going to get together later to see if we can wrangle what is now called Video Ninja to prevent that from happening, so we get discrete audio. Let's see, I'll just bring up my Twitch dashboard here. Did you enjoy that one last night? Hey Lance, how you doing? Good to see you again. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, Yannick, we were thinking of you when we prepared that one. You were sort of the persona that we were trying to address, the where to get started. All right, yes, go and get yourself a cup of Earl Grey, Paul, without a doubt. So, the new thing I'm going to try, I'm looking at my phone, battery levels. It's super hot over there. I really don't know how well this is going to work. So, I'm going to start by trying to show what's in this room, how I've got things arranged. A couple of bits are still a little bit lashed up because I haven't finished assembling. I just needed to try a few things out, so I'll point out the bits that aren't done yet. Oh, having a kettle on your desk. Yeah, that's the height of sophistication. I have to walk at least 10 meters to the kitchen to get to the kettle. I'm glad that you enjoyed that one. We've got lots more planned. Yeah, that's the start of a series. We'll refine things, and in fact, that session that I ran last night with Peter, I'll probably do different, a rerun of that live again at a different time next week, probably in the morning, similar to this time, to try and capture, an audience that we didn't get last night. A tea's made on your desk. Yeah, well, as you'll see, I like to keep my desk spaces quite clear. So I should have brought my wireless mic with me. I'm now realizing I'm thinking of all of the oversights already. But we'll see how we get on. So without further ado, I'm gonna try this out. I'll just pick up my phone. Let's see if this is gonna work. Okay, this is gonna be tricksy. So if I do this, I wonder what this will do. So if I now go here, no, wrong one, this one, no. Hang on a minute, why none of these things showing up? There we go, it's getting there. So, hopefully, oh, the resolution on this is jank, isn't it? I wonder if I can change that. Advanced video. That's terrible. Advanced video, color temperature, continuous. Can I change the resolution? Apparently not. Okay. Well, it is what it is. So, that's a set of shelves. Oh wow, this is super janky. I'm going to have to figure this out another day. So that's a set of shelves. The main machine is here. So this is the monitor in front of me. It's lost the connection. So I've got an ultra wide screen in front of me and the Stream Deck below. Gosh, this is really awful video. There's no actual point in doing this because you can't see anything. I wonder how I change this. I'm trying to use OBS Ninja wirelessly on my phone. No. Oh dear. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. So anyway, the computer is on the side here. So that's the computer. If it will move for what it's worth, it's so slow. It's very many seconds behind what I'm doing. And you can't really make it out. So this was an unmitigated failure. So I'll have to do better on figuring out how OBS works from a mobile phone, because that was dire, wasn't it? Let's close that on the phone, stop the phone from overheating. Right then, so let's go through what we've got here. So at home, I have a Threadripper 3790, is that the right order, or 3970, whichever way around those numbers go. Threadripper system. And it's got loads of RAM and loads of storage and an RTX 3090, and I've become accustomed to being able to take advantage of all of that, so I wanted to make something as close to that as close to that that's smaller, that won't overheat this office, because that machine at home generates quite a lot of heat. So that was the objective. So let's go through what I put together here. So if we go down here, and Yannick, yes, you are right about I should have done the Git pod thing, or I should have spent longer actually testing. When I tested this earlier, it looked fine, so I don't know why it's degraded so much in the few minutes since I turned it on, but it looked great a minutes ago. So let's start with the CPU. So this machine has got a AMD Ryzen 5950X in it. Oh, that's taken me to Amazon. That isn't what I was expecting. I thought that said AMD on my glasses. There we go, that's the one I want. So it's got the AMD Ryzen 9 5950X, which is a 16-core 32-thread CPU. And that's as close as you can get in sort of the desktop parts before you step up into the Ryzen models. And it's very capable. So if we just ping down here and size this up, make the font a bit bigger, like so. I think I've got the PyTop installed. Yeah, there we go. So here you can see, well, there we go. It does actually manage to squeeze them all in, 32 threads of operation there. And so from this overview, you can probably see that I have 64 gigabytes of RAM. And that's the only thing about this that I feel like I've had to make a compromise on, and I'll explain why in just a moment. So I'm glad you enjoyed the Potato Vision, Henrik. And welcome Framework. I'm glad that the few pixels that were displayed look like an ultra wide monitor. Thanks, Sleepy Eyes Vince. I appreciate the grading for effort there. Yeah, Git pod next week. I'm going to do a couple of Git things next week. So, Motivator 3090. So the 3090 is at home, and there's a reason why I specifically didn't choose a 3090 for this workstation, which I'll get to when I talk about the GPU. So, as you can see, 64 gig at home, my workstation has 256 gigs of RAM. So I do feel like 64 gigs is quite the step down, while appreciating that's still quite a lot of memory, you know, for most people these days. But let's find out why it's only got 64 gigs of RAM. So the main board that I'm using is Impact. There we go. So this is the main board that I'm using, the ROG Crosshair 8 Impact, and this, as far as I am aware, is the only let's do that. It's the only mini DTX motherboard that supports the AM4 platform that's got a current chipset. So mini DTX is ever so slightly bigger than mini ITX, and I took a bit of a gamble with this board. I'll explain why when I get to the case. But the idea is that it's ever so slightly bigger, and so it only has a single PCI 16 slot. Let's go to the gallery and see if any of these are significantly bigger. Big enough maybe? Oh, there we go. So it only has a single PCI 16 slot. But it also has this here, which if you can read, says SODIMM2. And it looks like an old laptop SODIMM memory slot, but it has a board that plugs into that, and that board actually is what hosts the two M.2 NVMe drives, and it has a bunch of additional fan headers and RGB headers on it. So by doing that, you can cram a bit more on it without having SSDs on the back of the board. So that's what provides the SSDs, and they're CPU connected, so they've got fast interconnects. And then the GPU here, and then this, which is what looks like an M.2 slot, is actually a high-end audio card plugged into another M.2 interface. And then the reason that it's only got 64 gigs of RAM is there's, like you'll find on all mini ITX boards, there's only two RAM slots, and each RAM slot takes a maximum of 32 gig sticks, so consequently 64 gigs is all that you can have, even though the chip itself is capable of addressing 128 gigs of RAM. So yes, what is it, with 64 gigs of RAM and a Chrome browser, I think that makes my machine a 64 tab PC. Is that the equation? I think it is roughly that, right? So Sleepy Eyes Vince asks, is this the machine with the millimeter perfect tolerances? This is that very same machine, yes. So if I don't know if I can do this, but let's go to instagram.com. So if you're interested, let's actually try and type the thing properly, shall we? Over on my Wimpy's World Instagram is where I take photographs of mostly stuff I'm working on in the background. And starting down here are some of the images. So here is, I got to log in, seriously. Right, okay, it's going to make me log in. Can I do that now? Can I be bothered? Well, anyway, if you go and look at Wimpy's World, here are the pictures of some of the buildings. So here is that SODIMM add-in board with SSDs on it. So let's go and look at what storage we have installed. Because in addition to the M.2 slots that go on this SODIMM, there are 2 SATA connectors here and another 2 here. And these are right angled because of not wanting to foul the graphics card. I'll get to temperatures in a moment. In fact, you'll see I've done a good job there, I think. And we'll get to all the in fact, I'll tell you what. Let's get to those components. So very quickly, the cooler. This is a pro tip. This is a really great CPU cooler that is kind of like flying under the radar a little bit at the moment. So this is the cooler that I'm using. It's the Deepcool AS500 Plus. The Plus is the version that has 2 fans, front and back. So how can I do this? Dare I even try this again? Bookmarks. Let's do that. Share your camera. Oh, max resolution. There we go. That looks good. Let's do that. Okay. Output. Okay. Start. Let's try this. Let's try this again. What could possibly go wrong? Is it this one? No, it's this one. Any moment now. Properties. There it is. Ooh. I'll mute that. There we go.
Properties. There it is.
It's a slightly better image, I think. So hopefully you can see that machine there. Oh dear, it's all going to potato very quickly. I must find a better system, but there you go. So that's it in its case, and that's the deep cool that you can see with the 2 horizontal lines. That's the fan. This is clearly not going to work. It was worth trying. Okay. Code chat. Oh gosh, we're in the wrong screen now. There we go. So this is about 50 quid, and it's fan profile. It's got as efficient cooling as the Noctua U14, and it's quiet and very efficient. So I've been extremely happy with this. This was a great buy. So in terms of temperatures, considering that I'm streaming at the moment, and when I'm streaming, the encode of the video that goes to the stream I do on the GPU, which we'll get to in just a moment, but I also use the CPU to do a visually lossless recording in H.264. So that's all happening on the CPU, and well, I haven't got P-Sensor installed. But I can tell you that at the moment the CPU is currently at 68 degrees. So the CPU is working reasonably hard. It's running all cores at between 3.5 and 3.9 gigahertz, and the temperatures fluctuating between 67 and 68. So yeah, that it's well in control, and the GPU is currently at 57 degrees Celsius. So considering the small case, it's well ventilated, and we'll get to the case now. I just need to be on the right screen. So this is a thermal take, the Tower 100. So let's find the actual this. So this is in the style of like a Tower chassis. So that's it there. No, leave me alone. So that's what it looks like, and in fact my system looks remarkably similar to that, except it's relatively small. I mean, well, you saw hopefully with the potato pixels that its maximum height is that like the top of the monitor, which I've got quite low down on the desk. So it's a very compact system. And you can see here they've got an Nvidia Founders Edition, 33,000 series Founders Edition in here. So it was really easy to build in as well, because the top comes off, all of the side panels detach, it's all toolless, lots of magnets to hold things in place, and there's acres of space. So under this area here you actually put a full-size ATX power supply in there, and I've got a thermal take 750 watt platinum power PSU, and that all sits underneath there and you just don't see it. So in addition to the cooler that I've got over the CPU, I also had some spare fans, and I've put those beneath the CPU cooler and above, so there's a sort of a pull pulling air through the bottom, and the direction of the fan is to suck air through the bottom and exhaust it out the top. And the top of the case is a perforated lid, so air can move all the way through, so it takes all the warm out and pushes it out the top. So the thermal performance of this case is pretty good. I mean, there are better airflow cases, but I wanted something small, and this was a reasonably small case, but not the smallest. I didn't want one of those absolutely tiny ones. And I did some sums, and I mentioned earlier that my main board is a mini DTX. You won't find mini DTX as like a supported specification on any cases really, but this mini DTX motherboard fits perfectly in this case. So it means I get that slightly bigger form factor motherboard with a few more connectivity options, but I still get to make a fairly compact case. Hello Esme, how you doing? Oh, you're at the mall. Okay, waiting for your morning cuppa. Very good. Hello Jeff. The background music is a bit loud. Okay, we can deal with that. I'll tell you what, I'll do it this way. So behind the scenes, I haven't got my Stream Deck set up, so normally I would push a button on the Stream Deck. So what we'll do is this, we'll run scripts, streaming, Spotify volume 30. Oh, it's already at 30. Okay, we'll make it 25 then. Is that better? So back to this. So yeah, we talked about this PSU. So then in terms of GPU, like I say, I'd got the 3090 at home and actually managed to bottleneck a 3090 doing the gaming streams that I do with Yannick and Henrik, who are in here. We actually wrestled with that for a couple of weeks, which was remarkable that we were able to do. Quite easily actually hit the limits of what 3090 could do, and we had to get quite creative in how we solved that problem. So given that I'd managed to do that, I didn't want anything less powerful than that. So I looked at some reviews, and I chose to get one of these. So this is the Asus Tough Gaming RTX 3080 Ti. So I decided I wanted a 3080 Ti because within a couple of percent the performance of the 3080 Ti is the same as the 3090. So that means, you know, I always have to make no compromises. The setup that I have here and the setup that I have at home is essentially identical in terms of the performance characteristics. And because I synchronize my configurations between home and work, it makes it easy for me. I don't have to make too many adaptations here. Everything just works. And I specifically chose this model because the Tough Gaming versions of not just the 33,000 series Nvidia, but also the 6,000 series AMDs have, until you get into sort of really high-end air cooling or sort of water-cooled GPUs, these have the best power efficiency and cooling. So I knew I wanted this in order to sort of keep the temperature in the cases down. And one advantage is because the 3080 Ti has 12 gigs of RAM, which is half that of the 3090. All of the RAM chips are on the front surface of the GPU mainboard. One of the problems with the 3090 is half the RAM is on the back surface of the mainboard, and it generates an awful lot of heat. And actually the back plate on 3090s dumps an astonishing amount of heat into the case. So again, the other advantage of using the 3080 Ti is without that RAM on the back, you don't dump as much heat into the case. So yeah, it's worked out really well. It's a cracking graphics card. I really like it. I think it's fabulous. No complaints whatsoever. And I have also got the Tough Gaming 69, the Radeon 6900 as well. And that's on a test bench at home, which I'll be doing some stuff with in the coming days or weeks. So those are the main components, and then in terms of like the other stuff that's in the case, I've got two Nvme Ssds, which I think we should find these here. So now I have this. It's very important that you take note that this is the core series. So MP600, they are Gen 4, so PCI Gen 4. And the core though means that these are QLC. So these don't have that high write endurance as like the TLC drives, but they're a lot more affordable in terms of the capacities. And I have two. I have a 2 terabyte NVMe drive, and I have a 4 terabyte NVMe drive. So the 2 terabyte is for the root file system, which obviously Linux doesn't need anywhere near that. But the reason I do that is I actually haven't done it yet, but I create other partitions in that root file system and then bind mount them into my home directory to make some of that space from the boot partition. It's also helpful if I work with a lot of VMs and containers, and all of that stuff sits in the root file system. So having lots of fast storage for the host operating system is advantageous for that. And then the 4 terabyte drive is my home directory. And then in addition to that, I have Samsung QVO 4TB. I wonder if that will find this. So I then have a pair of these. So a pair of Samsung 870 QVO drives. They're 4 terabytes each. So let's just take a little look at what that looks like and how I've got things set up. Oh, it appeared in the right place, how nice. So here we go. Here is the 2 terabyte MP600 core, and you can see I'm using the XFS file system. So we have the EFI partition and the root partition, and I've not done any bind mounting out of the root file system yet, but I probably will do in the coming weeks. And then this 4 terabyte drive is my home directory. And then here are the 2 4 terabyte Samsungs, and I don't know if you can make it out on the on UI here, but these are part of these in RAID. So these are set up in a RAID 0 stripe. So that creates a single 8 terabyte volume, and you can see that's been mounted as Munt snapshot. And what I do here is I frequently snapshot and back up my entire home directory to this drive. And that's because in the past I have done silly things and blown away lots of work in my home directory, and it is a massive productivity nightmare. You know, you spend, you know, at best hours, at worst days, trying to get back to, you know, a point you were previously in. So I'm pretty rigorous about taking good quality backups of my stuff, and obviously the 8 terabytes is more than enough to actually back up my home directory, because I think, as you can see, there's how much have I got occupied in here at the moment. Let's go back to the what are we looking at? Yeah, I've only used 600 gig in my home directory so far, so, you know, more than enough. But I also use that that storage for, you know, archiving of other things. So I sync some stuff from home over that maybe one day I might need, but, you know, I don't need in primary storage. So Captain Vent Dust says, is Martin doing this at work? If so, where do I apply? So technically, yes. I mean, where I work is actually in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm clearly not there. I'm just in Basingstoke right now, in Hampshire in England, and this is a small office space that I rent here as my in a co-working space. And then Esme says, you thought about the min-maxing of every part of the computers. Yeah, I put a bit of thought into, you know, how I want to use computers, and therefore, you know, what they need in them. And I'm really happy with this build. It's terrific. I mean, there's lots of things that I like about it. The motherboard in particular is terrific. It's got loads of I/O, really good complement of stuff. So in terms of, so obviously I'm doing live streaming now, so that's important to me. So, you know, the GPU, the reason I use NVIDIA GPUs is because of Nvme. That just moves a lot of that heavy lifting off the CPU. That becomes more important when I do game streaming, which I may actually do from here, even though, you know, this isn't at home, but this is a nice place to do that stuff from. I was talking about the GPU. Yeah, and the GPU then, I've got an interest, a personal interest in just messing around with, you know, CUDA workloads and things like that. So it's nice to mess around with that stuff. And then I do live streams. I do live streams for fun, like I'm doing now, and I do live streams for work as well. So up here, I have a camera. That's a mirrorless camera. This particular camera is a Canon M6 Mark II, and I've done a little lens hack on that. So again, if you look in my Instagram, you will see how I've managed to adapt a 22mm prime lens to make a what I think is approximately a 16.5mm wide angle lens. So that is then connected to the PC using a Camlink 4K, which is an HDMI to USB adapter. And interestingly, it was literally a couple of weeks ago that robust support for the Camlink 4K landed in the kernel. There's a bug in the firmware implementation, and that there's now a quirks accommodation in the Linux kernel for that now. So it works excellently. And then rigged onto the top of the camera, I have a shotgun microphone, which is just out of shot, and that's a Sennheiser MKE 600. And in fact, I'm speaking to my contact in the Ukraine at the moment, trying to get hold of a pair of Octava microphones from that there Russia, because they look like they're very good. And then the bit that's a bit lashed up at the moment, which I'm probably over the weekend going to have a go at improving, is I have this overhead camera, and that is currently a Logitech C920 webcam, USB webcam, which is literally screwed onto a selfie stick, which I have clamped to a shelf that's above the PC. So there's a cable dangling and it looks ugly, but actually I'm going to keep this. I'm going to change the USB webcam slightly to a different model, but the idea of using a selfie stick kind of checks out, and I've got some extendable camera poles that are compact, so I think I'm going to put one of those in because it will just be the right length and it'll be a little bit tidier. And that's sort of the main bits of it. I suppose actually if I do the overhead view again, and then in terms of input, it's a wireless keyboard, wireless mouse. This is an Asus ROG Pugio 2 wireless mouse. I really like this, it's terrific. And this is an Asus ROG Falchion keyboard. And what I've done here is the USB wireless receivers are plugged into the USB ports on the monitor, and the monitor then has a cable that goes back to the PC, and that means that relatively the mouse and keyboard are close to their receivers, and I don't get any dropouts and all the rest of it. So that's the wireless keyboard and mouse. And then you can just make out here, this is the cable, the XLR cable that goes to the microphone. Okay, this is a slightly quirky thing, I'll get into this. This cable is headphone out from my audio interface, which is Focusrite Scarlett Solo. So let's just bring up the audio bits, because I think it's definitely an idiosyncratic audio setup. So let's just look at that very quickly. So I'll explain what parts I've got here and how it all works. Come on, there we go. So my Focusrite's quite old. I got this out of storage, so I think it's a Gen 1. It might be a Gen 2. So what I'm going to see on the website will be a little bit newer and fancier than the one that I actually have. But that's my audio interface, although this one has fancier buttons and things, but essentially that. But I have XLR in, which my mic is on, and then you have this, it's meant to be for an instrument, but actually, although I'm not doing it now, I have a wireless microphone system that I can plug in there and use a wireless mic. So that's my audio interface, and then the headphones come out here, and the headphones have a direct monitor, and that's when you have your headphones on and you're speaking into the microphone, you can hear your audio, your own voice in from the microphone in your ears. And in fact, I'll just switch mine on and off, and there we go. So I can hear all of that. And that's a really useful feature when you're podcasting and streaming, because it's great to be able to hear, your own voice. So how do I do, and you will notice I've got wireless earbuds, so how do I get that wired headphone into my ears? Well, what I've done is this, and I bet I'm not going to be able to find this. I'll find the other one that I use. So Aventry. This is one organization, and I use one of these at home. Oh, there's a lot of pop-ups. Go away. Audio adapters, Bluetooth transmitters. This is it. So I use one of these, and I have used this as well, the Oasis Plus. Now these are have a very specific feature. They support a Bluetooth protocol. You can just make it out on the top here, Aptx Low Latency, which has fallen out of favor for general purpose Bluetooth devices, and it's really just a preserve for audio, for watching TV and films. Aptx Low Latency has a latency of about 30 milliseconds, whereas most other Bluetooth protocols start at around 100 to 140 milliseconds. So there's a very big delay in your ears when you're monitoring your own audio. So I have the headphone output from the Scarlett Solo goes to the input of this, and this is then transmitting over Bluetooth, and all of my earbuds are also Aptx Low Latency. So that means I have near zero latency over an entirely wireless solution. I hate the feel of dangly wires, and I don't like headsets because they sort of clamp a bit. So this is my solution to this. It gives me the freedom of movement. They're comfortable, and these are good quality. And then the earbuds that I'm using are actually a spin-off from Sennheiser. So I was using the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless, the first generation, which did support Aptx Low Latency. But the newer versions of those do not. But a lot of the consumer stuff from Sennheiser was actually made by EPOS Audio, and EPOS have now been spun out, and they're going to be responsible for what was the Sennheiser consumer products. And the earbuds that I'm using, oh gosh, are earbuds these, which come in two varieties. They come in the GTW 270 and the 270 hybrids. The hybrids have a Aptx USB-C transmitter, so you can plug it into your Nintendo Switch and your games console and your PC, and it works on Linux. So you wouldn't necessarily need what I've set up. It works just fine, but it's another audio interface in the system. And then these ones come without that transmitter, but they can receive Aptx Low Latency. And you can see they're quite spendy, but I bought 2 pairs of these on eBay for the cost of 1 pair. So they can be had for decent money on eBay, fairly inexpensive way to get very high. And these are very high fidelity earbuds. They are astonishingly good. A nice flat profile. Yeah, and this is interesting. So I see that some people are said here. So Linux Pool says, I hate the feel of earbuds or IEMs in my ears. So I love earbuds, not a big fan of IEMs. I do have a couple of pairs of those. 1 pair from ages back when I used to sing, but I find those a bit too hard and uncomfortable, the IEMs, but the earbuds I really like. 1 more week till I can change my name here. Oh, you had to request a name change from Twitch itself, is that right, Danny? Okay. Just going back to see what people were saying. Let's move here. So I think that's kind of it. I think the audio bit's probably a bit nerdy, and also it's because I do podcasting and streaming that, you know, I have an interest in making that comfortable and easy to use. I realise that that's very much my own thing. And then, oh, actually, talking about audio, up there, I have a pair of Sennheiser over-ear headset, which I do use from time to time when I just want to listen to some music, because they're very high quality, and they're Aptx Low Latency as well. So this whole same system, but the headphone stand I've got has got 3 USB charging ports, and so it charges the headphones, and the little cases for the earbuds are plugged in on a really short USB leads, and so that's my little charging station to keep everything charged up and working. So Charter says I must be losing because I use the Sony XM3s and I don't hear any latency. So that will be true. This is true. So certainly latency is much improved in Bluetooth 5.1 and 5.2. It's still high. However, if you're using your mobile phone or your tablet to watch Netflix or YouTube, what you may not be aware of is that those video players compensate for the latency in the audio system, so it deliberately offsets the video from the audio so that all the lips and everything are in sync. So it's accommodating for the latency that's in Bluetooth, but when you're doing direct monitoring, you can hear it. And in fact, if you look on Bluetooth, if you look on YouTube for Aptx Low Latency testing or Bluetooth latency testing, there are some really good experiments where people have got different versions of the Bluetooth protocol and different audio codecs, and they like knock 2 claves together so you can see the collision and then hear when it comes out of the Bluetooth speaker, and it's a very good practical demonstration of what the latency is really like. And in Bluetooth 2, it can be as much as 2 seconds. My in-car Bluetooth system, it's several seconds, the latency, which once the music's playing, it doesn't matter, but you notice it when it starts and stops. It feels like it's lagging. Oh, you stole XM4s from your boyfriend? Crikey, that's risky manoeuvre. Hello, Takov, welcome. Here that maintaining Bluetooth drivers in the kernel is a nightmare. I don't know about that, but I am going to be embarking on a Bluetooth project in Ubuntu. I want to introduce all of the high bitrate codecs into Ubuntu to improve the audio quality that's available over Bluetooth in Ubuntu. I was hoping to start that this cycle, but I think, if I'm honest, it'll probably be next cycle now. Maybe I'll make a start this cycle. I could do some preparatory work in a PPA. Wise. Chateau? Is that Chateau? Oh, Chateau? Yeah.
Thank you for the follow, J-Dition.
Thanks very much for the follow. So that explains why video jitters when I connect my headphones, says Sleepy Eyes Vince. Yes, exactly so. It's doing that compensation. And that's controlled by software. So not all video player apps on, on the mobile platforms will do that. Obviously the big players do, and the music players don't need to do it, because once the music's playing, what's it syncing with? Nothing. It doesn't actually matter. Oh, he got posh wired earphones. Okay, so it was a fair steal then, isn't it? Yeah, Bluetooth audio is interesting, and it's a shame. It feels like Aptx Low Latency was like the Concorde of Bluetooth audio, and because it was so sophisticated and so good, it was complicated and it requires additional antennas, and therefore that made it expensive. So it isn't in many. I think Sennheiser are kind of on their own in most Sennheiser earbuds, either true wireless or connected do support Aptx Low Latency Latency I found one Shure Bluetooth transmitter that did it, and now this EPOS audio stuff. And there was like one other brand that did it, but they were terrible. And it's a shame, because if you're like got a home cinema and you both want to listen to audio over headphones at night, then Aptx Low Latency is the only way you can watch a film, you know, on the telly, with the audio staying in sync. So these solutions for low latency audio tend to be geared towards home cinema, and you'll find plenty of over-ear headsets that support Aptx Low Latency for precisely that use case. Do my AirPod Dollars Pro have fancy Aptx? No, they don't. They have their, I think their AAC is Apple's preference, and I don't know what the latency is like. I don't have any Apple products, so I don't know at a physical level what the latency is like. Yeah, Qualcomm are the organisation behind Aptx and Aptx Low Latency. And the latency is reduced in, you know, newer versions of the Bluetooth protocol as well. And then Sony have their own codec called LDAC, which is a high fidelity codec that also aims to be lower latency. So Paul says, speaking of Bluetooth audio, I find it quite funny that Apple spends so long pushing people to Bluetooth headphones, and now Apple Music has lossless streaming that Wildhair what's needed for. Yeah. Right then, yes, giant corporations, Esme. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't like the over-segmentation of things, you know, yeah, that's maybe a conversation for another day. Anyway, so that's the sort of the system. What else do I use? I have two game controllers. They are these. These ones here. So I have my Stormtrooper holding my Stadia controller, which are Xbox compatible. So those are what I use. And then up here, I have Darth Vader holding the black one. So if I do choose to do any game streaming from here at the weekend, I have suitable controllers to beat Yannick in racing games. And that's kind of it. I don't think I missed anything. There's a Stream Deck there, but I think everyone knows what a Stream Deck is, and I haven't really configured mine yet. You like the color coordination. How do you find Stadia? So, comparing Stadia and GeForce Now, Stadia is the better user experience because you just log in and you start playing games, and so it's very immediate and satisfying, and it's like using a console. These controllers you can plug into the PC, they show up as an Xbox controller over USB, or you can pair them with your wireless network, and they then detect that you're running Stadia, but they send all of the key presses directly over Wi-Fi rather than going through your PC first. The idea being is that that's lower latency, but the experiments I've seen, it doesn't seem to make any difference how you've got them connected. So Stadia is the better user experience by far, but GeForce Now has significantly more games in it. What I haven't tried yet, which I am going to, is Xbox Game Pass, because I've seen friends saying that that works just fine on Linux in Chrome, and that's got a bunch of titles that I'm actually really interested in playing, so it'd be nice to be able to access that ecosystem of console games, because I've already got Steam, so there's not a lot that GeForce Now are offering, or what was the other one, Stadia are offering, that I can't actually play on Linux anyway. So let's have a look. GeForce Now uses Steam. It does use Steam. It's not all of Steam though. It's only some components. It's only some titles. There's like a validated list. It is growing, but it's a bit clunky because you kind of load into Steam. You have to log into your Steam profile, and then you can only access particular games. And as your sort of session gets cycled between what are, I don't know, virtual machines, let's say at the back end, you have to keep going through this re-authenticating your account, and that's a bit of a chore. So, excuse me. What have we got here? So, Paul says they've used xCloud and can confirm it works well on Linux. This is the Xbox stuff, right? You're referring to xCloud. Is that the correct term? I called it Xbox Game Pass because I keep being offered these vouchers, and I think it's, yeah, okay, so xCloud is the online service. I'm definitely going to give that a go. Am I going to use that to cook? Yannick, what's Yannick talking? Oh, his golden trophy. Right, and Vorpix asks, hey bro, are you good with PC parts and all of that? Yes, I am. And Chatterow says, makes sense. So yeah, like Gaben will save us all with the Steam Deck. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that device. Popey was asking me if I was going to make an OS for it. I think the answer to that question is probably no. This is pure speculation. I don't know this, but my speculation is I think in order to do the anti-cheat support for Linux and therefore for the Steam Deck, it's going to require a kernel module. And because of what that kernel module does, I think that is going to be a proprietary out-of-tree kernel module. So it's not to say that you couldn't figure out how to incorporate it in some fashion into another Linux-based OS, but I don't think it's going to be like easily maintainable to do that. That's my speculation. We shall see. We shall see if I'm right about that. But if they're going to support EAC and what have you, I feel like they're going to have to do something in the kernel. Yeah, well, hopefully I've explained what more is there to do. So, Vorfix asks, can you help me, please? I have some idea on what's good, but not very good. I'm running a bad laptop to play games, and I'm not liking it on frames. What would you recommend for 60 FPS? Well, you're talking about an actual PC. 60 FPS gaming, most GPUs can manage that, and it depends what resolution you're targeting. You know, whether that's 1080p or even 720p, and what quality settings you want to run the games at. So it's not easy to just say do this. I need to know what it is you want to do exactly. Valve committed some parts to the kernel regarding... No, it's pure speculation. I don't know if Valve have done that. I don't know that supporting EAC is going to require kernel patches. This is my guess. It's an educated guess, but it's a guess. Destiny 2. Yeah, I need to know more than the game. Like, what resolution do you want to play out and what have you? I suspect there'll be a thought of that. I don't know about that. I reckon they're going to base it on Arch and then have their own package repository over the top so they can control the way that updates get delivered. You know, or maybe they'll do something clever where, because I don't think anyone's been able to do a teardown of what the file system looks like. You know, I'd like to think they've got like an immutable image that's part of the base OS, and they can like push Delta images to the OS out. If it's actual package updates in the background, then that could get, well, you could run in, well, we'll see. Look, I'm not going to speculate on how they've done it until I've seen how they've done it, but I would hope that it's not just like raw package updates. But I'm wanting to play better games in the future. Okay, on all games, 1080p, 650. Sorry, 60 frames per second. Yeah, at high settings. Okay, so right now, all GPUs are stupid expensive in most places. So my advice would be probably not to build a PC right now, because the thing that's going to drive the performance of the games is going to be the GPU, and they're super expensive. But for what you're wanting to do, you could go back to the used market, the 10 series, a 1080 for example. More than happily do that, and the 20 series. I wouldn't look at any of the past like 580 Radeons or the 16 series for Nvidia, but yeah, used 1080 would definitely do you well. And you don't need to go crazy on the CPU either. Current CPUs and 1140 Intel or last gen 3700X from AMD or the 5600X are more than capable enough for gaming. Can feed enough bits to a modern GPU for sure. Yeah, it will be exciting to see how this Steam Deck stuff comes together. The certificate, yeah, I think the domain expired as well. Captain Vent Duster, I need to get on that and resurrect it. I think there are some talks on the anti-cheat kernel dev efforts, but it's probably work in progress. Yeah, I like I say, I'm guessing, but it will be interesting to see as we move in more code into PE. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay, Dan. So you're seeing that there's also work happening in Wine itself to actually offer better compatibility for anti-cheat. It would be good if it all happens there. SteamOS will have their own repos. Yeah, I think so. Pre-tested. Yeah, because they're going to want to manage that. You know, you get these periodic things where something changes in a package in Arch and it requires manual intervention. Valve are not going to, want people to drop into a terminal, read the Arch wiki to upgrade. Right? They're going to want people to be, oblivious to how that is being handled. Older RX series AMD is good on the second-hand market. Most are from crypto mining. Yeah, they are. I think I mentioned this in a stream earlier in the week. I have collected 5 or 6 generations of Nvidia cards, 4 generations of AMD cards, and all the AMD APUs. And I'm going to benchmark all of them on Linux and compare them. So that's something I'm going to be working on soon, to actually look at the relative performance across the generations. So as we're now exiting this sort of crypto boom, because with Ethereum moving to proof of stake, then GPUs are not so necessary. They're not necessary at all, in fact. So I think the market's going to be flooded with used GPUs, and I think it would be good to have some reference data as to what the performance of the different GPUs are from the different generations, so people can make a decision based on budget and what they want to do with it as to which would be most suitable for them. So that's something I'm interested in working on, but it's going to be a ton of work. So I want to figure out a mechanism by which I can have a test bench at home, but I can manipulate it from here, so I can set up some benches running and then do some work for a few hours whilst that whirs away and crunches numbers. If you're looking, so Vorfix, if you're looking for a pre-built, yes, a pre-built with any modern GPU is going to be best. It is going to be more than capable enough for 1080 gaming. If you only care about 1080 gaming, the current generation of AMD GPUs, the 6000 series GPUs, are far better than the Nvidia GPUs for just flat up 1080 gaming and rasterization without ray tracing effects. Now, you'll need to decide whether you're prepared to give up some of the Nvidia ecosystem stuff that you get, like Nvme for video encoding for streaming, and CUDA and RTX Studio and all of that stuff. But if none of that's important to you, the 6000 series AMDs are much better at raster performance at 1080p. Yeah, the 8600 is a decent CPU. I mean, they're all much of a muchness because, like, for 5 years, they did make improvements, but yeah, it's essentially the same architecture for a long time. Right. It's not the best time to build. Yeah, it's not, but you know, you can. I mean, I bought some of these parts. I think I got the GPU from Slovenia, which I was actually able to acquire at what was comparable to actual MSRP here, and something. It was the motherboard. I got the motherboard from Spain, and again, it was much more sensibly priced, even with, you know, having to accommodate for import and what have you, which is now a thing because Brexit. God, nightmare. Right. So Resolve 7 doesn't use the GPU on Linux tool. It does for me, Yannick. So Yannick, you know, I mentioned to you there was a thing called Make Resolve Deb that takes the thing you download and turns it into a deb package. That does all the necessary stuff to make sure that CUDA works, and then it will work on the GPU. And in fact, it does more than just work on the GPU. If you've got an IGP in your Intel CPU, it can even use that as well as the GPU. So you get like double, well, not double, but you get both. All the acceleration pipelines are available to you. I'm not okay. Do I have a link? Yes, let's go and do that now. Here's a link. So let's go here. What I'm referring to is this project. Hang on, I'm on the wrong screen doing that virtual screen thing again. There we go. This is the project Make Resolve Deb. You download this tarball, which is basically a shell script, and you run the shell script and you point it at the downloaded version of Resolve that you've already got on your system, you know, that runnable, and it unpacks it and creates a Debian package, and then you just apt install that local deb package. But it repoints all the symlinks and sorts out all of the dependencies, so when you install that deb, it pulls in everything that DaVinci resolves, and it's all correctly arranged for an Ubuntu system, because Blackmagic specifically target CentOS, so there are some differences, and this script takes care of all of that. You will need to uninstall the runnable that you've already put on the system. You don't need to get rid of your home directory and your configuration, but uninstall it and then make this deb and install the deb. The other advantage of this is that you can download multiple versions, and this can make multiple debs of different versions. So if there's like a golden version for you, you can stick at that. Right, okay, I think that's done. Was that interesting, helpful, fun, maybe? Friday fun? Was it Friday fun? Still surprised why they don't distribute it as a flat pack or a snap. I did make a snap of it when I worked at Canonical, and I did speak to them, but they are not interested. All of their studio desks, where they actually make their money, you know, their hardware, that is all built around CentOS, and that's all they care about. It can be made into a snap, I have done it, but I'm not going to publish such a thing because I don't have the distribution rights to do that, which is why it's not in the Snap Store. But it can be done. But this is the next best thing, in my opinion, for people on Debian and Ubuntu-based distributions. As for Flatpak, I think it's probably not on Flatpak for the GPU acceleration reasons that I was pointing out earlier, and the fact that it isn't geared to, well, it could be a Flatpak. It could be a Flatpak, it's whether they've got any motivation to do that. In fact, I thought somebody was publishing a Flatpak of Resolve. I thought that would be done as a community thing. Let's find out. Let's learn together. Yeah. Oh no. Let's talk a bit. It doesn't. If the first link isn't the looks like people requesting it. Yeah. So you can get around that registering to download. You can fudge the keys, but yeah, that could well be a reason why. Again, some organisations insist that you agree to EULAs before you even get presented with, you know, the download, which is what Resolve do. And that's been another reason some apps are not snaps, because there isn't a facility in the Snap Store to do the EULA acceptance before any bits get transferred to you, and that was a problem for some things. Yes, okay, you make a good point about they were using CentOS. I mean, they could be targeting CentOS Stream now, right? But yeah, maybe they'll change that, or, you know, maybe just go with RHEL, who knows. But traditionally it was a Red Hat based OS that they were targeting. Right, okay, well, thank you all for coming. I don't know if anyone learned anything. That was fun for me, reminiscing over building these things. I do enjoy building PCs. I found that I keep making excuses to build PCs, but hopefully I'll stymie that urge by doing this GPU benchmarking stuff, because I'll make actually two test benches. So I get to make two kind of PCs, and because I've got this view here with I've got lots of working space here, and the reason I'm going to change this camera is get something with a wider field of view, because I've got more desk here to see. I may do some of my PC building stuff for the test benches, for the benchmark stuff here, because I have lots of space to actually do that, and then get the test benches built, and then with the help of all of you, figure out what games and synthetic benchmarks to use to create a baseline, a sort of a performance expectation baseline for each of the GPUs. So I think we'll call it there. My tea's empty or cold, so I think I'm done for the day. Thank you all very much for stopping by. I'm going to be streaming over the weekend, because Yannick has submitted some patches to Brisk Menu, and I see there are some other patches, so I'm going to do some stuff with Brisk and do some more stuff with getting Ubuntu Mate 2010 ready. And I don't know, Yannick, what do you think? Do you think maybe we might have to convene a pre-season hotshot racing, what do you call it, practice session? I think that's what we need to do. Oh, it's been merged already. Oh, good for you. Congratulations. That was probably Josh Strobel that did that, in which case I'll go and look. Okay, so Those of you that were in the Hot Shot Racing League, get your t-shirts washed. Let's turn up in uniform on Sunday maybe for some racing. That'd be good fun, wouldn't it? Oh yeah, Sunday would be a good day actually. I say that because I think all the girls at home are away for the weekend, so I can be up really late playing computer games and make as much noise as I like. So yeah, Sunday, let's make it a date. We'll discuss it in Discord. So in the panels on Twitch here, we've got links to our Discord. You can also go to wimpysworld.io/Discord and join there. We got I don't know, about 1,500 people in that Discord now, and we do, it's all Linux stuff, mostly gaming, streaming, content creation, and nerding around with Raspberry Pis and little bits of code. And also the official Ubuntu Mate live chat is all in there as well, and the Ubuntu Mate development team are all in there too. So I'm going to call it there. Thank you very much everyone for stopping by. It's always lovely to have a little chat with all of you, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Bye bye.